Hey everyone, Dan Heilman here, and we are back with another Rage of Destiny video. This is the video you guys have all been waiting for. I've had probably 30 comments asking me to make a new tier list. This will be my endgame tier list. This is the first time I've done an endgame tier list. My last tier list was when the game was pretty much just beginning, maybe a month or so in. So that was like an early game tier list. So here we go. Endgame tier list. What I mean by endgame is like anything chapter 23, 24, moving on. You're going to start moving towards these heroes that I have on the tier list. I do not have all these units, so I have had to use some other people's input into this tier list. So here we go. Let's begin. Okay. I'm just going to go through all the units, probably not all of them, but at least the S and A and B tier units here. And kind of talk about why they're good, what they're used for, etc. So let's begin. Okay, Triguna. Triguna is a great damage dealer, a great healer. She can't be killed, she resurrects. Awesome unit. One quick note is for all the Celestials and all the demons, they're placed on this tier list high. They're also very rare to get, so it's hard to ascend them up to a usable range, right? So, you know, if you have one copy of Ephraim, for example, he's probably not going to be better than Paulus if you have a white border Paulus. So take that with a grain of salt. They're up here, but they're also very hard to get. Okay. Furzak, extremely strong damage dealer, actually. Has some CC in his kit, has a huge AoE, freezes people with his AoE, and also has a stun on one of his other abilities. Great unit. Again, hard to get. Brand new hero. Kratos, by far my least favorite character to fight against. He's basically unkillable. He does a massive amount of damage for a tank. I've watched him one-shot basically my entire team. One of the most broken heroes in the game, Kratos, S tier. Ephraim, very good damage dealer. Has some also survivability with his abilities as well. So very cool, does AoE damage, teleports all over, does lots of damage. Again, Celestial, so kind of hard to build, but S tier unit. Barkin. I kind of ignored this character for a while in the beginning game, but he is actually a great boss damage dealer. Once you have him built up pretty solid, he is a good unit. Lovelace has been a good unit, even from early to mid game all the way through late game. Awesome unit, has some heals, has some damage, increases the regen of your whole team, the energy regen, so very awesome unit, S tier. Rufina, I was kind of going back and forth between S and A tier. Same with Raelynn and kind of the same for Paulus. But Rufina I put up here because she's very useful. She has a lot of CC in her kit. She even has a little bit of healing. She's got a little bit of damage. She's got a little bit of everything, but she really locks out units very good. Awesome unit. One of the better CC units in the game. Okay, we're moving down to A tier here. These are also all very good, very usable units. There's a lot of units here in A tier, as you can see. But, you know, it just depends on the scenario. What you need, you know, if you're doing faction towers or something, you're going to need a lot of units here. So, all right. A tier, Callie. Great support unit. Increases the damage like crazy. So, very cool unit. I've been using her for a long time. She is also good in early to mid game. Lihia. She was a good damage dealer. Got nerfed a little bit. She's just a support character, right? She's got a lot of support, especially if you're using male units, which is kind of funny, but also kind of unfortunate because most of my team is female units. But decent CC, good unit there. Moxos, another decent unit. He increases the defense of your team and just a generally useful unit. All the Celestials and the demons, they give you bonuses for your whole team when you use them. So if they have a semi-decent kit, they're pretty useful. Okay, Moxos. I haven't messed with him very much, but I know a decent amount of people do use him. Raelynn. This is one of the units that could maybe be S tier. Kind of weird she uses plate armor and a two-handed axe because she uses a bow, but that's beside the point. Very good. Huge AoE damage, good, you know, just auto attack damage, good. The only problem with her is she can only ulti enemies who are on the opposite side of the field. If they're on the same field, she can't hit them. Dietrich. This is another good unit. Actually does some decent damage, but also has some good CC. So Dietrich can actually pull units to himself and then stun them. Very useful for that matter, especially like if you're going up against an enemy, Eloisa, who's a very good healer. You can pull her into your team so that you can damage her. So that's what I mostly use Dietrich for, but he also does decent damage. Gar. Awesome unit. Teleports to the highest attack unit. Does solid damage. Has an immunity to death for the first couple seconds after using that ability where he teleports. Very cool unit, good damage dealer, especially for wild tribes because there's not too many damage dealers in there, so solid unit. Karnawa is a healer, puts down totems, very solid unit. I don't have much experience with her, but I know she is a solid unit as a healer, especially for wild tribes because I feel like wild tribes lacks a little bit as far as really strong units. Okay, Sparin. Another cool unit, has CC. He swaps spot with an enemy. Is kind of a cool unit, brand new unit. Actually does some decent single target damage. So he's up in A tier. Sierra, great healer, great shielder. Actually stops someone on your team from dying, which is pretty cool. The first time she'll stop them from dying. Awesome unit. It's kind of hard to keep her alive for a tank unit. She's a little bit squishy. She is classified as a tank, but she's more of a healer. Eliosa is a great healer, best healer for the nature faction. A little bit slow to ramp up the heals, but once she gets going, she's pretty hard to get rid of. So great healer there. Grog, in the beginning, kind of useless. In the end game, he actually has a lot of HP, and while he's charging up his ultimate, all the damage he takes, he will, you know, put it back out there once he uses his big swipe. So pretty cool. Can actually do really solid damage. I used a mercenary version of him and actually did way more damage than my Paulus, so that was surprising for me. But end game, he gets a little bit more useful. Yonala, solid damage dealer, a little bit squishy, buffs your team a little bit, but overall a pretty solid damage unit. For faction towers, she's very good for dealing damage. Vardis, I don't feel like he's that good early mid game, but end game, he does ramp up a little bit. Once you can get him to white border, he does solid damage. His little skeletons decrease defense on bosses, so he's a good boss unit. And himself is not super tanky, but he has a bunch of units, little skeleton units that go around. So that's why he's kind of a tank unit. Actually does decent damage. Ban, I would say he's a step below Paulus. I haven't got mine to white border quite yet. I'm looking forward to getting one more copy of him so I can get him to white border. Right now my carry is Paulus, but I'd like to try Ban out. I do use Ban for bosses. He has some decent single target damage, and he also has lifesteal on his kit, which is very useful. Thanarin, I do not have much experience with Thanarin, but I know endgame players use her as a carry, and she does some solid damage. If I remember correctly, she has some lifesteal in her kit for the entire team once she gets to a certain level, so that's pretty cool. I don't have much experience, but I know she is a solid unit. Kamar, cool unit. I've used a couple mercenary versions of him, and he has some lifesteal when he whirlwinds and some cool stuff like that. Pretty cool unit. You can use him in the front line. I just got mine to red border. Decent unit, and will do some decent damage for you. Paulus. Everyone knows Paulus. He's dropped a little bit on the tier list once you get to end game. He doesn't quite do as much damage. He still does solid damage, but he also dies pretty quickly. He's amazing for like early / mid game. But once you get to the end game, he does start to fall off a little bit as far as a damage dealer. So great unit for a majority of the game, but he will drop off a little bit once you get to end game. Fasada is a decent little support unit. He reduces the damage that people do in a circle, and he's a decent little tank unit. I put him in the B class just because he doesn't do amazing at anything really. He has a little bit of CC and a little bit of support, but that's about it. Luciano has a little bit of CC, does decent damage, kind of same thing, B tier. Monica, same thing, even after a rework, still doesn't hold up to the likes of like Ban or Paulus, but she is a little bit better. She is probably one of the better units in B tier. Probably Monica, maybe Hath, and maybe Virga. These ones are kind of border. Elizabeth's good for PvP, but out of all these, you know, those are the best units there. Bovier, I don't have much experience with him. I've never seen people really use him very much. He has this cool thing where he like duels an enemy, and basically whoever wins, he like gets some buff from beating them or something like that. Giuseppe, just an okay unit. Can be used kind of as a boss damage dealer, but not very good at it. Hath, he has an AoE. The most useful thing about Hath is he can pull enemies to him. So just for that aspect alone, he's decent, but his AoE damage is a pretty small AoE. Doesn't seem to do that much damage, and he dies very quickly. I haven't put much invested into mine, but from talking to some other players, he doesn't quite make it into A tier. Elizabeth's good for PvP. She has some CC. Other than that, I don't really use her. I do use her in faction towers because she's one of, I at least have a gold border version of her. But other than that, she's just okay. Decent PvP unit. Kaus. He is an interesting unit. He's pretty tanky. He has a huge AoE that looks kind of cool, but just kind of a B tier unit. Doesn't do a lot of damage and isn't as tanky as some of the other versions. Yeah, that's about it. Virga, don't have much experience with him. He has this thing where he can dodge a bunch. Might be better end game once you get him super built. I don't know anyone who has Virga built up that much. All right, let's move down to C tier. E tier is just all of the non-mythic units because they can't go past level 160. This is an end game tier list, so they're all very low. The only reason why I have a couple in C tier, again, I wouldn't really use C tier, but even into like campaign 24, 25, I have had some use for Tasithia. And she's amazing early and mid game. She's really strong. She's great CC. It is a shame that she is not a mythic unit and can't go higher level because she is a very strong unit. But again, this is end game tier list, so C tier. Myello, I don't have much experience with him. He has a little bit of stuns. I've never really seen anyone use him. Talked to a couple people, and I don't know, CT there. Comment below if you've used him and had great success with him. Same for Belfort. He is also another mythic hero, but he kind of just absorbs some damage, dies, and then resurrects, and I feel like that's all he does. Solero, again, if you're going to use any of the non-mythics, Solero and Tasithia and maybe Sarkisson. Sarkisson should probably be down here as well, but I put Solero here because she's amazing in the early game, and if you have to use her in faction towers because you don't have a lot of people for wild tribes, you could probably get away with using her, but not quite in the very, very end game faction towers. And then E tier. This is everyone. This is all the rest of the non-mythic heroes. Yeah, Roxanne's really good in like the up to like level 80, and then she's useless and like the worst in the game. Farron's terrible. I used him for a while for one of the events we had going, and he's just straight miserable. Anyone else in here? Yeah, no one else is very good in here. Okay, that's my tier list. A lot of people have been asking for an updated tier list, so this is my end game tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go down there, smash the like button, sub to the channel. You guys know the deal. Been making lots of Rage of Destiny videos. Awaken Chaos Arrow is coming out soon. I will be making lots of videos for that once that comes out. So if you're enjoying the content, go down there, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and like the channel. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. See you guys.